Oh, okay. All right. So, do you want just to like a quick? Do you want to make the copies?
I'll go make a copy. I just look at the answer screen really quick.
No. Okay. So what exactly will be on tomorrow's test? You might ask, Lauren. I thought you might ask. All right. So there will be 4 review questions. One about like treaties and how, specifically the Treaty of Versailles and so on, and how it wasn't ratified by us. One 20s review question, one Great Depression review question, and that similarities and differences between the New Freedom and New Deal review question.
What's the New Freedom?
Anyone remember what New Freedom was? No, that was the Fair Deal. Go ahead. All right, guys. After the review questions, I suppose you can forget this forever and ever, as long as you don't have an AP test next week. But New Freedom was Wilson's like moderate progressivism. Do you vaguely remember how Wilson had a moderately progressive policy, and he was able to like split himself between Taft and TR in the election of 1912? Okay, then you will probably get that wrong tomorrow, Solomon and Hannah. That is okay. There's only one question. You can, why mess with success? Get it wrong again. Okay. Then, what's that?
Wilson.
Wilson
is a famous.
Okay, then, oh sorry, one more review question will be FDR and his tendency to like sacrifice civil rights to make sure that nobody stopped his New Deal and so on. Okay, so then the real questions. There's about 10 World War II questions, which means 16 out of 48 questions are their World War II review, so that's 1/3 of the test. They include mood in America when the war started in Europe, what most people's attitude was, why we entered the war. Boy, there's a lot of like, which of these statements is true, which of these is false. Woo-wee, that one's hard. Okay, so like things about like after Pearl Harbor happened, you have to know like we had no army, we had to switch to women in factories, women did a good job. How did the average citizen suffer even if he or she didn't go to a factory during World War II? Okay, and also like the rationing, the like stickers you had to have to be able to buy stuff. Now, what is one of the ironies of the U.S. as great as heroic as we were during World War II?
We worked with Stalin.
Okay, we worked with Stalin. Another irony. We had a segregated army. Another irony.
It's ironic. We're learning about irony.
Ugh. We interned Japanese Americans. No vague recollection of that 2-day lesson. Yes.
Are you staying till 3:45?
No, for what?
Okay.
I have to go to the union stuff in like 10 minutes. Like postcards or something. Why, do you need...
No, it's okay.
You need a ride?
No, I need someone to watch some kids. It's okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so study that. Then there could be a question like, which of the following legendary World War II battles is incorrectly paired with the famous saying or quotation? So you have to know like, I shall return, and nuts, and we stormed the beaches of Normandy, and the flag across the hill, or at the top of the hill, and the Bataan Death March, and all of that stuff. So I would know our like 5 or 6 most heroic sayings.
How many questions are good? Just one?
Just one, so maybe you should sacrifice that. Because really, why would you want to know great moments in U.S. history that our grandparents did to allow us to live this life anyway?
My grandparents did not do anything.
All right. I shall return, the Bataan Death March, storming the beaches of Normandy. Piece of cookie if you want to record. Oh no, you dropped it. Now you don't have to give me any because that sucks, dude. I'm sorry. Okay. More. I'm gonna have 1 or 2 like just Japanese internment questions because I'm so pissed off that you guys couldn't come up with that. Oh, and then there is a specific D-Day question because You should know D-Day.
Specifically, what is it at?
What's D-Day? I'm just kidding. I know exactly what it is. It's
Okay. And then,
What is specific?
okay, here's your first really hard one, even if you haven't studied. The election of 1944, which I didn't, which we haven't really studied. Any recollections of who was in that bad boy? 1944. FDR again, and
Nixon.
who did he defeat? Hint, he defeated the guy that Truman defeated 4 years later, Dewey. So you'll have to know, basically the way I read this, it's sort of a comparison, election of 1944 versus 1948 type of question, so I'd study both of those elections. There's a question about, that famous last meeting of Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin. There's a couple of questions about that famous last meeting of Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin. And then there's a question about dropping the A-bomb. Okay, section 1 is finished. On to section 2. Section 2 is Truman and Eisenhower. Obviously, there's a lot of Cold War questions. A NATO question, a Truman Doctrine question, a Marshall Plan question, a Korean War question. Sorry. A Marshall Plan question, a Truman Doctrine question, a NATO question, a Korean War question, another Korean War question, a third Korean War question. I would definitely study the Korean War of the most on that chart. I would definitely remind yourself of the role of MacArthur, not just the I shall return MacArthur in the Philippines in World War II, but MacArthur, let's nuke the Yalu River and set up a permanent radioactive belt, MacArthur, after his Incheon invasion in the Korean War. And then there could be some Truman domestic. Truman Fair Deal, not to be confused with Truman New Freedom, that's Wilson. Truman Civil Rights, what he tried to do, what he couldn't do, what he tried to do but couldn't do, what he tried to do and did do, etc. Did he pass it? No. That could be a choice. Depending on the question, it may or may not be the answer. The 22nd Amendment, there could be a 22nd Amendment question.
What is the 22nd one?
3 words or less.
Oh, right here. No, 2 terms.
2-term limit. No, 3 terms. There could be a Rosenberg question. And then from that, they could have a McCarthyism question. There could be a couple of McCarthyism questions.
What about Budapest?
I think that is a wrong answer in one. That's it. Question? They were the spies the American Jewish physicists who snuck the info to the Soviets and got executed. All right. There could be only
Bless you.
2. Well, sorry. There could be 4 domestic policy Eisenhower questions, but 2 of them are pretty obvious. One would be Brown v. Board, and that would lead to the one shining moment of Eisenhower's civil rights presidential stand.
When he sent the troops to Libya?
Good. And then there could also be just a general 1950s question, people owning cars and having babies and moving to the suburbs, et cetera, et cetera. And then there could be a specific, how was Eisenhower a moderate Republican question? So you need to know all those economic policies he pushed for and all those civil rights and social issues he didn't push for. And then there could be, what?
You said how is Eisenhower?
Yeah, a moderate Republican. And then there could be 2 Eisenhower Cold War questions. Think Sputnik and U2 more than Hungary, those of you who asked about that. Question.
If the 50s was an ice cream flavor, what would it be?
That will not be a question. Okay.
Please make it.
Can you please make that a question? Can that be a bonus?
It was my own stupid, I made it up. It's not relevant. No professor wrote it. Yes. Well, thank you. Okay, yes. What did most moderate Republicans and most moderate Democrats support from FDR to the present? No, not. What part of the New Deal do they really like?
Unions.
Social Security.
Medicare.
How about teenagers? What's your fave?
Tax.
Minimum wage, yes. You always want to help grandma and grandpa and poor people economically.
That was Eisenhower?
That was Eisenhower, that was Truman, that was JFK, that was everybody. What?
What about the Eisenhower Sputnik thing? What was that?
There'll be a Sputnik question, yes.
Just Sputnik.
Yes. What people don't tend to like unless they're liberals, look at periods 3 and 4, are social progress. Back then it was civil rights. Nowadays it's affirmative action, that kind of thing. That tends to not thrill people. It's too much civil rights. Okay, the last third of the test is divided into 2 parts. One part JFK, election of 1960, Bay of Pigs, Ich bin ein Berliner, Cuban Missile Crisis, Test Ban Treaty,
What's the test ban treaty?
Oh,
stopping nuclear testing like that. Remember that test we saw in the 50s video where they blew up that A-bomb in the Arizona desert? Then everyone went and got cancer?
still,
3 except for three people. And then a couple of civil rights questions, such as what we did today. Yes?
What's the time period for the test ban?
Not, probably the summer of 63. Someone can look it up on their phone. But the Cuban Missile Crisis was October of 62. And JFK died in November of 63. So sometime in that 13 months. Then the last 6 questions, boy do these suck. Okay, are going to be 1 if it's Eisenhower, 2 if it's Kennedy, 3 if it's Roosevelt, 4 if it's Truman, 5 if it's none of the above. So then it's going to be pretty tricky things, you know. He took over because the president died in office, he was assassinated in office. He favored civil rights, but his party didn't. He didn't favor civil rights, but his party did. Whatever it might be. So it's going to be like pretty tricky specifics about all of those bad boys. The good news is
FDR took over.
that I put the choices in chronological order. No, I don't. I just put them in alphabetical order. Eisenhower then. No. But the good news is that there's 6 questions, and so it's one of. No, it's not. There could be 2 in a row. There could be none of something. There could be 3 and then 1. You know. So pretty much you just gotta know it. That's pretty much it.
Can you repeat that list again?
Yes. I'll give it to you in chronological order. FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, or no one. No one wasn't actually a president. That's just the choice 5 in this case. Yes. Well, for purposes of review questions, and for the last 6 questions, yes. And World War II is under FDR. What's that? FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy.
Are we done?
We are done unless you have more questions.
For the last 6 questions, right, will it be more about like FDR and World War II?
Could be anywhere.
Because that's not fair.
Yeah.
Because